What is going on, guys? JNC here for JNC Rewind number 10.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already been number 10.
I know, that is crazy. This time we're going to be doing the Royal Rumble of 2002. This is still during the WWF stages of things, but this would be the last time that a Royal Rumble would be done under the WWF banner. Of course, from here on out, it would be done under the WWE name.
Yep.
But, yes, this is the Royal Rumble of 2002. 30 men, one match, one winner would be the tagline for this one. It'd be from Atlanta, Georgia, at the Phillips Arena, in front of, I thought they said over 16,000. I think that's what they said. I had a different number down here. But, and of course, the announcers for this one would be Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. So, let's just get right on into it, actually.
Yeah.
First, we had the opener is for the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championships. It would be the champs Taz and Spike Dudley. Yeah, that's quite the pairing. Versus
the Dudleys.
Of course, Bubba Ray and Devon. Not much to say here. It was a quick little opener, about a 5-minute tag match.
Yeah, not much action. Spike battling was battling with a neck issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a neck brace.
But obviously, as soon as Taz locks in that Taz mission, it was over.
Yeah, Taz would get Devon in the Taz mission for the quick submission. Taz and Spike would retain the titles. 2-star match here.
I did 1.5.
No, you had 2.
Oh, I had 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, passable match.
Yeah, it was passable, but not really. Not much to really go off of.
Mm-hmm. And next we'd have the backstage promo with Edge, where footage of Regal knocking out Edge and RVD with brass knucks. Then SmackDown Edge would even the odds with the chair and would hit the ref in the process. William Garcia would interview Edge here. Edge would say that he has the advantage because he's got the chair that he educated Regal with. Yeah, did not like this promo at all. You could clearly tell
that line. Yeah.
Well, no, but not even. You could tell he hadn't come into his own yet. He was still kind of like growing in that aspect.
Yeah.
Once again, I never really got into the babyface Edge promos as much as I did the heel ones.
Mm-hmm.
But then we'd have the Intercontinental title match between Edge and William Regal. For the match here, Nick Patrick would search Regal for some brass knucks. He'd dig into his trunks.
Yeah. Who planned that?
Yeah, that was kind of strange. And Edge, I guess, decided to not bring the chair with him, even though he just did an entire interview talking about how that was going to be the equalizer. That's another thing to point out.
Oh, yeah.
Edge would go for the spear toward the end, and Regal would pull the official in front of him and wipe everyone out in the process, including himself and the ref. Then Regal would then pull out the knucks, hit Edge with the power of the punch, and steal one. Regal would win the Intercontinental title. Michael Cole afterwards would try and ask Regal how he could justify what he did, and Regal would say that he'd like to thank the man above for gracing him with the power of the punch. Solid match here for me.
Yeah, it was.
I went ahead and gave it 3. I thought it was a good match. I could have been a little bit better, but I thought the finish was kind of eh.
Yeah, that's basically what it for me for my rating. I think this was the one that I did 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Next, we'd have the women's title on the line. We had the special guest ref here.
Not much to say here.
No. So, yeah, we're kind of running through this one quickly. So.
Well, because if you ever have a chance to watch it, you'll understand why.
Yeah, and as I said, we try to give like lengthy reviews and really try to get down to detail and everything. But sometimes we just gotta run through it because
we just take what they give us,
basically. So I don't feel any guilt behind that anymore.
Nope.
But as long as we're just continuing, as long as we're consistently putting things out there and everything, I feel comfortable with that. So next we'd have the women's championship on the line between Trish Stratus and Jazz, and Jacqueline would be the special guest referee. And there's actually a period of time, I believe. Yeah, in 2002, I remember there was a period of time where she'd officiate some matches. But, this is a quick women's title match. Trish would hit the running bulldog at the end and get the pinfall victory, retain the women's title.
She was going in on a hand injury.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's one thing to point out. I didn't even think about that. Star and a quarter was my rating for this one.
1.
Yeah. Moving on once again.
Yeah.
So we are through 3 matches here in like a span of like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's not the ideal, but again, we just get what we just see what. I mean, we just do what we see, I guess. I don't know.
Then we had the street fight here between Vince McMahon and Ric Flair. This is during the angle where they were the both co-owners of the WWF. In the pre-match video package, Vince would say that he loves to ruin people's lives and that turns him on.
Damn, like, man, what a weird life that man has.
Yeah, he'd also put on Flair's robe and strut around the ring, and then Rick would. This is one of my
Take
favorites.
off my robe.
That's one of my favorites. Rick would go, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And he'd also say, "Take off my goddamn robe right now." One of my favorites, personally. Then, of course, Vince would then go on to assault him with a lead pipe. Ric Flair's son and daughter were at ringside for this one. I will say one thing I will say about this match and the show in particular is the crowd was great throughout. Like, the crowd was super into this one, and the crowd was actually very into the whole show. So I give them a lot of credit for that.
Oh yeah.
Actually, probably helped the show out a bit too.
Yeah. That's
Not saying that this is a bad show. This is not a bad show. We're not saying that.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, there's actually really nothing bad really to say from nothing. There wasn't anything really, really bad like that. Like, would make me like think
maybe
of
that women's championship match.
Yeah, no, that wasn't very good. But
Well,
I mean,
that's
yet
like,
again, they're running.
That's giving. That's giving.
Given at this time and just the fact that they're running on short time too. So I mean,
Yeah.
what they did what they could with it really. But yeah, so Vince would hit Flair over the head with a trash can, busting him open, just running through some spots here. Then he beat Flair in front of his own children. This is horrible as it sounds.
Taking selfies.
Yeah, he grabbed, that's what I was going to say next, he'd grab his daughter's camera and take a picture of him and Rick while he's smiling. So
Yeah.
that was actually great.
Vince did it first. Remember that.
Yeah, I guess so. That was great. Then later, Rick would hit Vince over the head with a monitor, causing him to bleed. Then both men would bleed profusely. And then in the end, Flair would grab a hold of a lead pipe and hit Vince over the head.
Dude, that was a brutal shot. I'm not going to lie.
And then he'd apply the figure 4 leg lock, and then Vince would tap out.
Ah!
and then Flair would pick up the win. You gave this one 3 stars. You enjoyed it a bit more than I did. I went 2.5, but not that it was terrible. But if you could just get over a few things, and I guess you could watch this and see it for what it is. I guess is like all I can say about it.
Yeah, the only bad spot is when he Irish whipped him into the barricade.
Yeah, that didn't go quite as bad. But also, one thing I wanted to note down, which I'm glad I remembered. This marks Ric Flair's first match back in the WWF at the time.
Yeah.
So, and Vince was his opponent, so that's interesting to think about. Of course, he would later he'd have a high-profile match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 18.
And then he would wrestle for 6 years.
Yeah, he'd wrestle till 2008. Well, this isn't WWF/E.
Yeah.
Of course, he went on to wrestle a little after that, but that's neither here nor there. But next, we'd have a backstage interview.
Wait, what are you talking about? It doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. That's pretty much what I was trying to say. Backstage, we'd have Michael Cole. He tried to get a word with Nick Patrick about the Intercontinental title match for Miller. Then Stephanie would interrupt to talk about how Triple H was going to win the Royal Rumble. And then she'd mention her issues with Deborah at the time during this. And then Austin would, I guess he'd hear her talk about her. And then he would enter the scene. He'd scare her off with the dozens of whats. Then he'd go on about the Rumble himself.
29 pieces.
You want to know who's going to win the Royal Rumble? You want to know who's going to win? Stone Cold. 29 pieces of trash. Over the top rope. Then it goes Triple H, Kurt Angle, The Undertaker. that was great stuff. One of my favorite Austin promos, to be honest. Then after that, we'd have the Undisputed Championship match. So, wow. We are down to the Undisputed title match here, and we are just closing in on 10 minutes for the show so far.
Then again, though, with Royal Rumble shows, you kind of have to expect that.
No, we always say that, but every now and then we find a show where we could just go into great detail and stuff. But once again, not to be that guy, I say it every time. I like to just get into detail and break everything down for you guys.
Yeah, most of the review is just going to be the match itself.
Yeah, which I mean that's kind of the deal here, and like we're kind of used to that by now. But
Yeah.
we just
But,
once again we just
like,
go with what they give
I feel
us.
like we could actually talk about the Rock and Jericho match.
No,
for a little bit, because I thought it was actually not. It wasn't bad.
No, I thought it was it was
really good.
I thought it was a pretty good match. Of course, this would be the Undisputed Championship match. It would be Chris Jericho, the first ever Undisputed Champion, versus The Rock. Yeah, this is a pretty good match here. I think one of the things that kind of what separated it from being a pretty good match, like from a great match, was I thought that like
Too many shenanigans.
yeah, that's what I always say, man. Because like there was the Lance Storm and Christian interference, and then there was the there was the Jericho cheating in the end.
Mm-hmm. As always, though.
Yeah, I know, but this is also really I mean, this is when Jericho was supposed to, I guess, move into the main event scene, but it never really felt like right because they never really made him feel like he was super important. He was not a strong world champion at all.
No.
And they just didn't present him in a very strong manner.
They had Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah, they did. They put him with Stephanie, and then it basically was just Triple H versus Stephanie, and he kind of took like a back seat to that. And this guy's supposed to be your world champion, and he's supposed to be main eventing WrestleMania. And then after that, he just was back to being like basically like just a mid card guy
For a little bit. Probably.
And he rode in, and he didn't win the world title like until like 2008. So he went 6 years before he won his next one. So
yeah, a few Intercontinental titles in there, but
yeah,
and I think some tag team.
No, he was definitely one of their better stars for many years, and of course one of the greatest of all time. But it's just interesting just to think about when you like break things down, like and you put thought into it.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So of course. No, this is a pretty good match. Another thing that sticks out was there's, of course, the Rock's bottom table spot. But I like the way they did this one where Rock would do the Rock bottom from the Spanish announce table through JR and King's announce table, because every single time he tries doing it, this happened multiple times. He tries doing the Rock bottom through the announce table.
And it just breaks.
And it just collapses before like he can even like jump off and do it.
No, what's worse? What's worse when a table collapses? When Triple H's collapsed, remember with
Kurt Angle.
Yeah. That or his rock bottoms.
Probably the.
It's not in Pedigree.
Probably the Pedigree one, actually. I guess the only thing about the Rock's ones is that it happened like more than once.
Yeah.
Which actually, if it happened like that, I don't know why they thought it'd work better, but whatever. So so Chris Jericho would retain the undisputed title here
with his shenanigans.
Yeah. So no, it was still a pretty good match nonetheless. But I went ahead and gave it 3.5. You gave it 3.25.
Yeah, because of that finish.
Yeah, but good match nonetheless. Then they'd cut to WWF New York, where they'd ask Shawn Michaels, of all people. Actually surprised to see him here at this point.
Yeah.
And they'd ask him who he thought was going to win the Royal Rumble, and he went with the two Texas guys, both being Steve Austin and Undertaker.
Ooh.
And now we have the 30-man Royal Rumble match. We start out with both Rikishi and Goldust. First, we're going to do what we always do on here. We're going to run down the entrance, and then we're going to break down the order of elimination and some fun facts in between.
Well, so, first of all, I think Rikishi and Goldust, the worst 1 and 2 of all time.
Definitely not one of the more eventful ones. I can't say the worst 1 and 2 of all time because there could have been a worse 1 and 2 out there that just doesn't, not off the top of my head. But yeah, definitely not one of the more eventful ones ever.
But as of right now, I'll probably correct myself in the next one. But right now, as it stands, Rikishi and Goldust, the worst 1 and 2 of all time.
Yeah. So then next would be Boss Man, who'd enter at number 3. Bradshaw would enter at 4. Lance Storm would enter at 5. Number 6 would be Al Snow. 7 would be Billy Gunn of Billy and Chuck. 8 would be Undertaker. 9 and 10 would be Matt and Jeff Hardy. Number 11 would be Maven. Number 12 would be Scotty 2 Hotty. Number 13 would be Christian. Side note, European champ at the time.
I had no idea.
14th was DDP, Diamond Dallas Page. 15th was Chuck. 16th was The Godfather. 17th was Albert. 18 was Perry Saturn. 19 was Stone Cold Steve Austin. 20, Val Venus. Number 21, Test. Number 22.